I want to let us hear Kyle Shanahan talking about not letting the blown leads against the Rams and the Cardinals cause them to blow another lead last night. Here's Shanahan after the game.
You know that we're sick about those two losses that we had, and we know, I talk about some losses are harder than others, and when you feel like you had those won, especially division games, that's made us sick about it. And we've gone on a stretch here the last 2 years where we've won a lot of games in a row, and a lot of the fourth quarters and some of those win streaks these last 2 years haven't been that tight. Guys have been able to relax a little bit and stuff, and we've been talking about how these two losses are a reminder on how the NFL works. And I think we got a little spoiled in that way of just human nature of sometimes feeling too relaxed, and you can never feel too relaxed. I thought we played real well in the second half, but that doesn't mean it's easy to win. And it's that's how it works. We played well, they played well, they came back and made some plays which made it tighter, and I was glad that our guys could fight through that, realize that games are really never over where you can just sit and chill in the fourth quarter. You got to go beginning to the end, and we got that experience today.
As a guy who gave his all the time, no matter what, no matter the score, winning, losing, tied, whatever, how do you feel when you hear the head coach suggest that he's got guys that basically take their foot off the gas when they feel like
I just told you that. I just told you that. I just said good teams, especially like the San Francisco 49ers, they have a tendency to say, we can get this done at any point in time. That's what good teams do. And he used the phrase or the word relaxed. And that's what happens. The guys on the team, they get complacent, they get relaxed, they get comfortable because they know the system, they know that they got a bunch of good players, and they don't really take it to the next level. And he recognizes that as a head coach. So now you bring in the leaders. You say Trent Williams, you bring in Debo, you bring in all these guys and say, guys, you guys have to be the ones in the locker room that continue with this message about finishing, making sure that we finish on goal line when we're practicing, making sure that we finish on 7-on-7, doing all the things that we have to do. This is what he's preaching to us, guys. And I just said it, Mike. When you have a good team, you have a tendency to get relaxed and get comfortable. And Coach just said the same thing.
I'm just curious how it makes number 37, who's still lurking inside you somewhere, even though it's been a while. That has to be completely opposite of anything you think about football, that you'd have guys on the field, guys on the sidelines celebrating prematurely. And I could imagine that if you saw that happening while it was happening, not during the week, but while it was happening, you'd make sure you got their attention.
Absolutely, because Coach always preaches, hey, guys, it could be 60 minutes and we can always go into overtime. So, no matter what the score is, always stay engaged, always making sure that you're paying attention and that you're engaged in the game. And if I see some guys laughing and joking and getting comfortable, I'm like, come on, guys, let's stay locked in, man. This stuff it's not over. You saw what happened to us the previous 2 weeks. Let's stay locked in. But that's my job, and that would be other guys' jobs as leaders of that team to make sure that those guys get that message.
And it doesn't get easy the next 2 weeks for the 49ers before their bye. They're at home, which is good. They get a Super Bowl rematch with the Chiefs next Sunday. And then, Rodney, you'll be flying across the country to Santa Clara, Levi's Stadium, for the Week 8 Sunday night game, Cowboys at 49ers.
Oh, wow.
So These are two huge games coming up for the 49ers. We got to see them in primetime last night. We'll see them in the late afternoon window, Week 7, and then we'll see them on NBC and Peacock. And then they'll have their bye week. And this is huge because when you're at 3-3, the 5-3 versus 3-5 is gigantic. And if you split, you're 4-4. Now, there's still a lot of football to be played, and they've shown they can find the gas pedal and win games. But this is their opportunity to remind everybody of who they are against one really great team and a Cowboys team that we're not quite sure what they are yet.
Well, you look at the Chiefs, and the thing that really stands out to me is not what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball, but it's how good they are on the defensive side of the ball. Steve Spagnuolo, I've said it before and I say it again, best defensive coordinator in all of football, and he just has those guys ready. I don't know what the stats are in terms of what they give up on defense, but you can give me that defense probably ahead of any defense in the National Football League because they know how to play in big moments. They've been in every situation and they continue to get it done. Now, if the 49ers want to have a chance against the Chiefs, it's not throwing the ball all over the place. You have to be able to run the football. And I want to see if Kyle Shanahan is going to be completely committed to running the football, or will it be Brock Purdy fest where he's just throwing the ball all over the place like Geno Smith did last night. They have to be able to run the football against this defense.
There was one moment last night that I want to spend a few minutes on just because I like the fact that the NFL was transparent about it. I think that transparency needs to be embraced in all things when there are questionable calls. First play of the fourth quarter, there was a punt by the 49ers, excuse me. And it seemed like it was indeed touched by a Seahawk in real time. It was hard to tell. Everything's moving fast. The ruling on the field was that it hadn't been touched by a Seahawk. And also the ruling was that the 49ers player had been blocked into the Seahawks returner, which resulted in the flag being picked up. And I think that's where things got a little sideways because it became more about picking up the flag and less about, did that ball touch the Seahawks returner, D. Williams? And it turns out it did. And it turns out what happened, and this isn't the first time this has happened. When you get a primetime game, you get a lot of camera angles. And it's a challenge for the truck to figure out, do we have an angle that shows this? And you got to get creative. And for primetime games, there really are more. You get a 1 o'clock game on a Sunday with the number 5 crew from CBS, you got a lot fewer cameras. So they found it, but they found it too late, Rodney. And the NFL admitted it. The reason it wasn't overturned with 49ers ball is that they got a late look at the ball hitting the finger of D. Williams. And it was clear and obvious it hit the finger, but they didn't have anything clear and obvious before the ruling on the field was upheld. And I like the fact that they admit it. Too many times they just circle the wagons and no comment, and they won't talk about it. I think when you have that attitude, you get people less inclined to say, hey, the fix must be in. They're lucky, and it's easy to be transparent when the outcome is 49ers win and 49ers cover the spread. But if that moment had helped spark the Seahawks to cover or to win, maybe they wouldn't have been so transparent because they ultimately did get lucky. It didn't affect the outcome of the game or the outcome of the bet on the game.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, Mike, there's always going to be 3 or 4 situations like that in games where the official may not get it or something may be overlooked. I think it's just all part of the game. And, to have that many, angles and all those, and you still can't get it right. And I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. It's football, and you're not going to get everything right. The coaches tell you, hey, you can't depend on officials. They're not going to save you. You got to go out there. You got to make the necessary plays. So us as players, when I was growing up in my era, we didn't really care about what the officials did. We just played football. We let the officials do what they do. However, they called the game, they called it,
Well, and I think that's the right attitude, too, because you got to forget about the bad call. If there is a bad call, there isn't a damn thing you can do about it now. You got to go line up and play. The circumstance is what it is, and we'll let other people worry later about whether or not it was a bad call. But from the perspective of fans, media, observers, people who bet, people who feed plenty of money to the NFL's sportsbook partners, there is a desire that everything be right if possible. And I think that when it's wrong, we've seen too many times where the NFL won't be candid or as candid as it needs to be. I like the fact that they admitted last night, hey, we just didn't see that last shot in time. If we'd seen it, it would have been 49ers ball in that spot. But you're right. The players have to forget about it. Everybody else can worry about it. And the 49ers players clearly did forget about it. They didn't act like, oh, well, it's not our night. They put the clamps on eventually and got the win.
They did what they had to do.
Let's hear from Brock Purdy on last night's win, moving the 49ers from 2-3 to 3-3 and getting the team hopefully back on track.
There's always going to be stuff that you can clean up. And, for us, our standard is high here. And so I think a lot of us would go to, all right, like we could have done this or that and be better here. But I think at the end of the day, man, it's a team sport. And so to go 4 quarters with all these different kinds of emotions and parts of the game, and to be able to rally together and defense get a turnover and then us score a touchdown at the end. And it's just that's team football, man. And that's the sport that we play. So I feel like we did take a step in the right direction for sure. And we're always going to have stuff that we're going to be hard on ourselves and need to grow and get better at. But I really do think that we all as a team came together and found a way today really well.
Are they still the best team in the conference, even though they're 3-3?
Let me say this about Brock Purdy. I see why they follow him. This kid, he's fantastic. I mean, he's humble. He talks about football like he loves it. And he says team. It's team. It's about the team. It's not about one individual. It's not a bunch of individuals. It's one team. And that's what I want. That's the message that I want to hear from my quarterback. And that's what I love about this young man. And you can't tell me that it's a better quarterback that fits for the San Francisco 49ers. His attitude, his perspective, his humility, and he's got that dog up in him, Mike. So I love Brock Purdy. He's going to continue to push. He's going to get them an opportunity for an NFC championship. And I still trust and believe in the San Francisco 49ers. This is a highly talented team. If they can stay healthy and continue to get a couple guys back on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to be fine. And then once Christian McCaffrey comes back, he's going to give them a different spark. And then I think you're going to see a lot of the red zone woes go away because Christian McCaffrey, he acquires so much. It takes so much attention to slow him down. It opens up so many opportunities for everyone else. So Christian McCaffrey is the key.
2 points. Number one, as soon as we're done today, Rodney's going to order himself a Brock Purdy jersey. And number two, whether he intends it or not, Rodney is now, based upon what he said the last couple of minutes, well positioned to do the stadium arrival interview with Brock Purdy when NBC has the Cowboys 49ers game in a couple of weeks.
No, hey man, let me tell you something. I have a lot of respect for the young man because I was a 5th round draft choice, and it's difficult as a late round draft choice to make an impression on your teammates, the coaches, and even having an opportunity to get in the game or to get in practice to make that opportunity. For this guy to be the last pick of the draft, for him to go through everything that he's gone through and to continue to play and be well respected and be the leader that he is. I mean, it's been phenomenal, Mike, and I just got to give the young man a lot of credit. You talk about his faith, his maturity, his growth, his leadership, all those things, man. It's tough to do, and what he's doing is absolutely has been amazing, and he's doing it at a very, very low cost.
Now you got me curious, Rodney. For you personally, when was the moment that you felt like they were finally taking you seriously and not viewing you as a late round draft pick and when are we going to cut this guy kind of thing? When did that light go on?
Never. It never goes on. When you're a 5th rounder, you always feel like you're going to be released or cut or traded. You always have that level of insecurity. You ask Tom, you ask Brock Purdy, Tom Brady, you ask Brock Purdy. These guys, that's why they work. That's why their approach is what it is, because they don't want to ever put themselves in a vulnerable position where they feel like they're going to get cut or released. We have that paranoia, and that's the thing that drives you as a football player.
And that's one of the compelling things about the draft, because your attitude about yourself for your entire career is shaped by what happens on those 2 or 3 days in April. How many guys have we seen, Rodney, who get taken in round 1 and they think that they're going to start carving their bust for the Hall of Fame, and they lose the edge, they lose the desire, they feel entitled? I was a 1st-round pick. And you flip it around. How many guys who go lower than they thought or end up late-round picks, it lights a fire that wouldn't have been there if they'd been picked in round 1?
It's a ton of guys, man. And I even look at a kid like Brian Burns when I saw him get drafted by Detroit Lions when he got drafted. And he got drafted. Of course, he was excited, but he was disappointed because he felt like he should have gone earlier. And, and that's the type of paranoia, that's the type of desire and drive that we guys like us have, me, Brock Purdy, Tom Brady, and late round draft choices, because we always feel that level of insecurity. We always feel that anxiety. We always feel like guys are looking at us, or people are looking at us like we're late round, like we're not, like we don't belong, like we don't deserve to be here. So that's why you always see the competitiveness and the drive and the anger and the frustration and all those different things, because we feel like we're the underdog, and that's the way we play. And that's why I love Brock Purdy, man. I mean, to overcome everything that he's overcome, to be a starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, man, you got to be a special dude to be able to do that.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.